Reality Transurfing has absolutely changed my life. And the funny thing is, I started reading it yesterday. I read about 200 pages, and I'm only about 2/5 of the way actually complete with it. Now, the reason why this book is so amazing is because it talks about quantum physics, which is hard to sort of read about. Now, I'm going to get into a lot of the concepts in this book, but more importantly, to give you guys a broad understanding of what this video is going to be about, it's about why this has already changed my life and why it seems like some people work less, make more, try less, but always end up doing better. So obviously we all know those people from, I don't even know, middle school, elementary school, college, job, employees, bosses, whatever it is, friends, family, who simply just don't try that hard, but everything just sort of falls into place in their life. Like it's almost like it's effortless for them. Now, a lot of the concepts I'm going to be talking about here are based on quantum physics. I'm not a freaking master in quantum physics. I'm not a professor in quantum physics. I don't know this stuff like the back of my hand. I'm still relatively new to learning this stuff. I was just introduced into this ballpark about, I would say 10 or 11 months ago. And I just started actually taking it seriously and really reading about it a few months ago. So that being said, one of the concepts in this video I want to talk about, this is Reality Transferring Steps 1 through 5 by Vadim Zeland. Now, what I've read so far is what I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to talk about pendulums. So pendulums are anything that we tend to focus and put our energy on. So pendulums are very inherently negative because it pretty much sucks the energy out of us. So we see this all the time happening in the news, happening in propaganda, happening in diseases. And it sort of shapes our reality into going into a downhill spiral. So let me explain. So it's like you heard about a disease that's happening in Germany and you live in the US. And so what you would do is essentially you would just brush it off. You wouldn't even care because it's happening halfway across the world and the pendulum hasn't grasped onto you. But that being said, if there's a disease in Texas and you live in Texas and it's a huge outbreak only happening in Texas, the pendulum is going to attach to you because you attach your energy to that disease. And then you start thinking thoughts like, well, what if this disease happens? You acknowledge it in your head. You give it energy. Next thing you know, you're on the bus or you're walking downtown and everybody around you starts coughing. Notice how weird that is? Because when you have that thought, that negative thought of like, wow, what if this could happen to me? Or like, what if I'm going to be infected? Or what if I'm infected? You radiate that energy. You transmit it. I'm trying to explain this the best way possible. I hope this is making sense. And so, you walk around, everybody else is coughing around you, right? And then you notice, oh my God, everybody's coughing. I'm going to get sick. Then you kind of dismiss it. And then later on, you hear about how, your mom calls you. She says, yeah, your uncle, whatever, has a disease. You're like, oh my gosh, great. Notice how the disease is inching closer and closer and closer to you just because you're giving that pendulum energy. You're giving the pendulum the energy of it. You're enabling it to attach to you. You're enabling it to actually manifest into your life because you're giving it so much energy. You're transmitting that energy out, and then things are happening in your life that are lining up with the script of the disease. Next thing you know, you start having a cough. You go, oh my gosh, I must be sick. Now, whether you were sick at that moment or not, you already told yourself you're sick because you had 1 or 2 different sneezes throughout the entire day, which is completely normal. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm sick, even though you probably weren't even sick. And then the next day, you wake up with a low-grade fever because during the night, you fell asleep and you thought that you're going to be sick the next day. And it turns out you actually were. But do you see the difference here? If we treated the disease that happened in Texas, even though we could have been in Texas as if it happened in Germany, just brush it off, accepted that it was there, didn't avoid the disease, wasn't scared of it, just didn't attach any energy to it. Just simply said, I acknowledge a disease is near me, but I don't really associate with it. You didn't latch your negative energy into the pendulum, and the pendulum didn't suck your energy in. Therefore, you will never be affected by the disease. See, notice how our thought patterns shape our reality. If we're constantly transmitting negative thought patterns, we align with the script of negativity. And when you align with the script of negativity, your life becomes inherently negative, and then things start to fall into place that replicate that. You can't smile at the mirror, or you can't look at the mirror and wait for it to smile back to you. You got to smile in front of the mirror first, and then the mirror smiles back. So those are pendulums. Those are one of the many teachings that I actually learned yesterday, something that is so weird to me. I'm going to give you guys a story. I was actually in the car reading with the windows down, in a mall parking lot yesterday, and there were so many car alarms that were going off at the same time. And I like jolted up, took off my headphones, and I sort of looked around. And what happened was I was just like kind of frustrated. I was just sitting there like that. And I was like, can these things like shut up? And then I thought to myself, pendulums, don't attach your energy to it. And I said, okay, I acknowledge that the car alarms are there using techniques from Reality Transurfing. Said I acknowledge that the car alarms are there. I'm going to put my headphones back on. I'm just going to start reading again. The second I put my headphones back on, every single car alarm stopped. Now, that could just be a coincidence, but I myself truly believe that all the car alarms immediately stopped after I stopped giving it energy, because I simply acknowledged that the car alarms were there. It was out of my control. I can't run up to every single car and tap it and make the alarm go silent, but it is my control to acknowledge that it's happening, but not attach myself to it. And that situation can be applied to anything else. So I hope that was a complete game changer for you guys. I can give you guys a few other examples before we quickly move on. Another example is that, you think you got super lucky because you won a plane ticket out to Hawaii when you live in Washington, and it's super, super, super rainy in Washington all the time. And you're so excited to go to Hawaii because, the sunny clouds and everything. You think you got freedom, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so amazing. And you get to Hawaii and it starts raining. It's like you attach yourself so much to the greatness that's going to happen. You didn't focus on the present and how good the present is. And then guess what? You change your script, and now when you're in Hawaii, it's raining. So in other words, you can't be happy out of a place. You have to find that happiness inside of yourself. And so the next thing we have is the choice. So you don't have to fight for happiness. You simply have to choose that that's going to be the script for your life. Now, a lot of people, it's about tuning into frequencies. Now, if you tune into negatively and inherently negative frequencies, the actions and plans that happen in your life will line up with those negative frequencies, just because you simply allowed yourself to dwell on those, and therefore things started shifting and happening in your life that are inherently negative because you're tuned into negative energy. Now, this happens, I can have so many other testaments to this, but it comes down to letting go. So if you simply just let go of other people's actions, a common technique used in therapy is called the circle of control. It's like you can only control how you feel, how you act, what you say, essentially your actions. Your thoughts are subconscious. You can't control your thoughts. You have to let them pass through you. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control how other people will react to you. You can't control what other people do. And so letting go and being content with the control that you have in your life is going to be enough to move the needle. Now, there's a lot more I can get into it with energetic vibrations and lifelines and dreams and lucid dreams and stuff like that, but I'm not going to get to that for this video because I don't want to confuse anybody. That's for another time. But simply, this video was to talk about pendulums. Pendulums are freaking crazy. It opened up my mind to a lot of different things. Another example is we attach ourselves so much to catastrophic events that it could possibly happen in our life. Like, we read so much about catastrophic events and we simply just attach ourselves to that timeline, and we get so inherently caught up in like that. The next time we get on a plane, we're super anxious and hyper, and it just throws everything off. That's an extreme example. Another example is that political parties, propaganda, things like that. We attach ourselves so much to the stories that are happening online or on a certain political party news channel. We get so attached to them. We have so much hate towards the other party, and the negativity builds up. And then, next thing you know, your lifeline is now negative because you're swinging with the pendulum. The only way to beat a pendulum is to acknowledge that it's there, but ignore it, not to avoid it. Do not avoid it, because if you avoid it, you're still giving it your negative energy because you're trying to push it away and trying to fight it. It'll always win. Best thing to do, acknowledge that it's there, but then simply just let go. Tell yourself, this doesn't affect me. I don't identify with this. I'm going to give this no energy because it's not a problem, because I don't deal with it. I know that it's there, but I don't associate with it, and it's not a problem for me. And that is how you transfer one part of things. So then again, I'm only, like I said, 2/5 of the way through the entire book, but that's how you sort of begin the stages of transurfing reality. So that being said, this book is absolutely amazing. You guys pick it up. You guys hear what I'm saying. I think this is probably one of the most valuable videos I've ever made on this channel. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But with that being said, those are pendulums. That's Reality Transurfing. Go pick it up. Book's like $58. It'll absolutely change your life. Peace.